Hey everybody, KC here. So today we have part two in our ongoing series on leadership and management based on a panel discussion I ran at the recent WAFC meeting in Denver. And again, fabulous people on the panel. Kevin Curry of Albertsons, Wendy Coldesina of Costco, Levi Wingo of Raley's, Nick Schott of Red Bull, Toby Saricki of Albertsons, Jake Sochi of PepsiCo, Adria Campbell of Malk Organics, and Paul Stoffel of Stater Brothers. And today in part two, basically half the group started in the industry at a very early age. And I was curious about, what was the light bulb moment for them in terms of knowing that something they maybe started out doing as pushing shopping carts in a parking lot. When did they say, ooh, this industry is for me? And the other half started in other industries. And I was curious what they brought from those experiences to the food industry. So enjoy. One of the things that I found fascinating in our earlier conversations was, I think roughly half of you started in the industry at a very early age. Generally, collecting shopping carts was, I think, where some of you started. And Levi, that was you, right? How old were you when you started?
I was 16.
16.
16.
16. Who else?
17.
17. Anybody else?
I was one.
One. Okay.
My dad worked in the industry. My dad worked for Stater Brothers, so
Okay.
I was involved at a young age in the offices while he was there, kind of gaining a love for the business.
So, okay, you win. You were the youngest. But I'm curious, and Levi, let's start with you. What was the moment when you realized the business is going to be your future? Okay, you were pushing carts.
Yeah. So
It couldn't have been while you were pushing carts.
it wasn't, but it was very early, honestly.
Okay.
So I remember maybe being a year into the role, and I was going through school, and I knew I was going to keep going through school while I was working. But I started, enjoying working with the people every day. And then, I had a boss. He was a good guy. He's the guy that hired me. But I looked around and said, I think I can do that job. I could probably even do that better than him. And I was 17 when I remember having that moment. And I wasn't serious.
You've been pushing shopping carts for a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So
And you're seeing store manager.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and then, you have those epiphanies throughout your career as you jump different levels. So then when you got to be a key carrier, for example, or a head clerk, you look around and go, I think I could do that job too. This is really interesting. You start discovering that the grocery business is much more than pushing shopping carts or being in the store every day. Being in the store every day teaches you so much that you're really well equipped to do a lot of things. And then you realize, well, our company has this kind of department, so I wonder what I'm going to be interested in someday. So there's countless opportunities, and you start seeing that pretty early on, even when you're pushing shopping carts, because you see all the things that we do and we have our hands in.
Doing something else.
And Kevin, that was your story too. 46 years ago, you said?
Well, when I started the grocery industry, you made more than everybody else.
Yes.
There was no such thing as minimum wage because of the union. And so I just liked the fact that I could tell my sisters I was making more than them, than my older sisters. But, I think the revelation for me was I was fortunate enough to keep working in the store while I was getting my degree. And then when I finished with my degree, somebody came up to me and said, hey, would you like to continue in through store operations, or would you like to take your degree and go into the office? And it's kind of to Levi's point, then you start realizing there's more to the business than just being in that building. And you start looking at different things. And so, I was very fortunate to, I took the path into the office with my degree and, did some things. So I've just been very fortunate kind of meandering through a variety of roles. I was once told I'm a jack of all trades and a master of none, and it's worked out okay.
Well, and as a division president, when you're going out to look at the stores and you see young people out there collecting shopping carts, that must shape to some degree not just how you view them, but also how you interact with them.
Very much so. My daughter will always say, I know if Dad's had a good day, he's been in the stores because he's been talking with people and doing things and interacting, and what are you doing? You know, I saw you over here. You were a department head at this store. Now you're a department head here. You're growing, you know, and sitting in the office, I don't get that same feeling. But the people tell me it's like they feel very approachable because I'll tell them, I started what you were doing. Right. And, you know, you have the president's here. No, not really. I was what you were. And, you know, let's see what you want to do.
Interesting. Now, the other interesting thing I thought in our earlier conversations is a number of you came from outside the supermarket industry. Toby, you worked for Home Depot.
Yes, I did.
Right? And Jake, you worked for a New Balance shoe store in New Canaan, Connecticut. I should say, I live in Darien, Connecticut. New Canaan is the next town over. I used to go to that store, and it's at least possible that he sold me these shoes.
Nice.
Because I've had these for about 15 years.
Good likelihood. Good likelihood for sure.
So Toby, start with you. What did you give us some sense of what you learned? What did you take from the Home Depot experience that is positive, but that is what you're doing now is different? How is it a different environment?
Yeah, I would say the home improvement environment, it was kind of like they threw you into the fire, which is similar to grocery. It was like, I see it as my training ground. Like they got me ready to take on whatever it was that I would. And when I got into grocery, I just felt so good about what I was doing. And that's why the impact of the industry is so important to me, because I felt like each and every day I was helping make someone's life better. I learned, I'm in, you know, merchandising. So each of my categories, I grew such deep passions for each and every one of them. My classmates will probably joke and tell you I'm like the oral care queen. I've, you know, helped them to grow their oral care regimens and routines. Absolutely. And if you have any questions, see me after. I love to talk about it. But just, I think Home Depot trained me and prepared me, and the food industry grew my heart. Like, I fell in absolute love with the industry and what I do and my categories and the people. And each and every day it continues to grow through the FIM program, through, you know, WAFC. I'm just like, wow, you know, we're all here with families. We didn't have that in the home improvement industry. It was like, these are the results, get to it, and that's it. But here, it's about so much more than that, because I think we're doing so much more than just putting things on the shelf. We are changing people's lives.
By the way, I'm a writer, so when I hear people talk, I think in terms of what they refer to as call-out quotes, which is you pull a quote out to highlight it. So far, you've got Company of Grace and the food industry grew my heart. So if this doesn't work out for you, poetry would be great. Nice. You won't make much money, but you've clearly got a flair.
Yeah, Speaker of the Year.
Talk about shoe retailing.
Yeah,
Smelly feet.
Yeah, there's nothing better than the month of August when all of the kids that had not worn socks all day long came in with their parents looking for the back-to-school shoes. It will humble you very quickly. But I think, yeah, I mean, it's a two-pronged thing when I kind of look back at it, because it was very repetitive, right? Every single day it was very much like, you know, you kind of had your preordained pitch when a customer would walk in, and you know, it was just it got a little bit mundane. It was a very systematic, like, okay, yeah, I know what I need to say, I know this, and you know, you kind of have it very much like pre-laned or preordained, right? But I will say the one thing that it taught me is how much connecting with people means to me personally, because again, every single customer, Kevin potentially being one of them, you know, that would walk through that door was someone else that I could potentially, you know, meet, talk to, and you have these people for 20, 30 minutes roughly, right? So that's enough time to really start that connection. So again, although, you know, the time in that retail store was, you know, very repetitive and a bit mundane, it really sparked that initial flame for me that I need to be in a people-led industry and a people-focused industry. And, you know, shortly after that, you know, got my first internship with Pepsi, and, you know, fast forward till now.
And one of the things you talked a little bit about when we were on the phone was the idea that you'd have customers who would come back to you, right? There were people like the same smell. You'd have to go deal with the same smelly feet August, because people would come to you because they wanted to deal with you. You know, it's funny. I don't actually remember Jake, and he doesn't remember me, which is maybe a good thing. But I do remember the woman who worked in that store named Rose.
Yes.
And I've written about Rose because Rose created a connection with customers. And that's such an important, again, it's not the food business, but that's one of the things that can happen at retail. You see it when you go to a store and people will wait online for a great checkout person and there's like 4 others empty, right? Because they've started to connect with that person.